Hello and welcome to my video diary. This time on Grand Ages Medieval, a trading sim developed by Gaming Mind Studios. I am not the most experienced trading sim player. I have played some Patrician and a little bit of Rise of Venice. But I had no problems getting the hang of things in this game. One big reason for this is that they are very similar to the other Calypso trading games. Some people might call them reskins. I think that is a bit too harsh, but I can certainly see that people who pay full price might have a different perspective on this than someone like me who picks them up when they are cheap on a sale. But I am getting ahead of myself. So after refusing to create a Calypso account, I started a new game in free mode. I have never understood people who play the campaign in management games. I don't get what the point is to having to unlock a whole lot of features and being told what to do all the time. But hey, each to their own. So I started playing, and I of course decided to start in Scandinavia. Sadly, I got placed in Stockholm, of all places. Now, for those who don't know, what you do in this game is that you have some bare-bone city management, where you get to decide which buildings that should be built. And these buildings will produce different resources and products. Different products will of course have dependencies on each other. So for example, you need iron ore and coal to make tools and etc, etc, etc. And the price of these products will of course depend on their rarity in the different cities. And the main way that you gain your money is that you send out your traders to buy low and sell high and etc, etc. The game do have some diplomacy and warfare, but they are just so bare bones that they're hardly worth talking about. The problem that I have with the game though is that its main focus, the trading and the city management, is also very bare bones. Now, I am a know-nothing simpleton. I didn't touch the tutorial. And yet, after a couple of hours, I am the owner of a trading empire that pretty much runs itself. Now, I am sure that min-maxers will have a different perspective and they can find enjoyment in trying to optimize everything, and good for them, but that is not me, and if everything runs itself, I grow bored of the game. And in this game I felt very quickly that I had seen everything, and I could quite simply just turn up the speed of time and see my money meter go up. And yes, I could keep on expanding. I can build more cities, I can build more factories, and I can spend money so that I can make more money, and there is a loop in this, and some people might find this extremely satisfying. They can keep on doing this forever and just keep on expanding so that their money meter will keep on growing faster, but I quickly felt like I had already seen it all, and then I see no point to it. This problem happened as well in Patrician and in Rise of Venice, but in this game it happened quite a lot faster. Now, can this be explained by that I had more experience going into the game? And yeah, partly, but I think only partly. So why is this the case? Well, let's start to look at the trading aspect of the game. So at the beginning of the game, you are going to control your traders manually. But sooner or later, you want to set up a trade route. And the thing about this game is that at the start of it, you are not allowed to customize the trade route in terms of what to buy and all of those details. So you simply tell the computer to do it for you. Do it in a balanced way. So you simply tell the computer, do it in these cities and do it yourself. And this works perfectly. I made tons of money by simply letting the AI handle all of the trading details. And if the AI does it good enough, then why should I even bother? So, if you want to make a whole bunch of money, simply get a bunch of traders, set them up with some wagons and stuff like that, and set up some routes, and let the AI handle all of those details. And cashing. You make a ton of money, and half of the game is pretty much made pointless. But, I can hear all of the min-maxers whining in the background, and they are telling me that I could do it better. I could increase the profit margins and stuff like that, and I believe you, absolutely. But if this is good enough and it makes me rich and it makes me more money that I can spend, then I don't really see the point to it. In my playthrough, I simply used this option and I got a ton of money. I had more money than I had means to spend it. So what is the point? Okay, so this brings us to the other big part of the game, the city management. So what buildings can you build? Well, you have two different types of buildings. You have the buildings related to the production of goods, and you have your, let's call them civic buildings. In each city you get to decide 5 different products, and for each product there is a production building. Okay. So what about the civic buildings? Well, there really isn't a whole lot of civic buildings, and most of these buildings I saw little point in building in more than one city. So again, there really isn't a whole lot to it. Okay, so the civic buildings does not really play a big role. So the focus must be on the buildings focused on production. Okay. So problem number 1. There isn't a whole lot of different resources or goods or products or whatever you want to call them, and there are very few dependencies between them, which is really odd. Another problem is that when you have built these buildings, they just keep on producing whatever they are producing, so you can basically just ignore them. Now, perhaps I have the wrong mindset, but perhaps when you listen to all the things that I have talked about, there is a theme to this, and that is that you do some initial stuff. You set up a trade route, you build a building, but then it just keeps on running itself. You don't have to pay any attention to it. So perhaps I have the wrong mindset, but I grow bored of it at this point. Being critical is very easy though. So let's say that the developers come to me and they put a gun to my head and tells me to make some suggestions to make the game better. Well, simply just telling them to improve everything would probably make them pull the trigger. So let me make some concrete suggestions on how to improve the game for my taste. Okay, suggestion number 1. Redo the diplomacy system. So the way that the diplomacy system is set up at the game at the moment, it is basically a paywall. So you got to pay to be able to trade with them, to be able to pass through their cities and stuff like that. So it's a paywall to slow down your progress, to force you to make money, to make more money. So it's basically non-existent. So what I suggest is that you should tell the globalists to go to hell, because there should be tariffs, there should be trade rights for certain goods, and your relationship with the different towns should affect this, and you should be able to affect the rates for your competitors. There should be trade wars, there should be blockades, and this leads us into suggestion number 2. It should matter who controls the roads, it should matter who controls the entry point to a trading block. There should be an incentive to own the towns where all the trade goes through. So if, for example, I own the town or the roads that all trade between, let's say, Scandinavia and Middle Europe goes through, then that should mean that I have power. I should have power to mess with my competitors, and likewise on the other way around. So what would this lead to? Well, it would lead to an extra layer of depth to the routing of trade routes. And this routing would depend on relationships and trade blockades, which are dynamic. Great. Another good thing is that you would have an incentive to own certain cities, and all cities will not be equal in terms of trade power, and this in turn will be dependent on the construction of new cities and new roads. So the big thing is that now trade routing will become much more dynamic than before, and diplomacy and trade relationships would actually be more important, and you would actually have a way as a merchant to mess with your competitors. Suggestion number 3. Scrap the idea that all factions are traders. There should be lords and kings whose sole purpose in life is to mess things up. They should go on wars, make laws, split up, expand, etc., etc., and overall make the world feel dynamic and force the player to adapt to the world and not the other way around. Suggestion number 4. Make trading goods more interesting. I am not going to say that there should be more trading goods, but at the very least it should matter where the trading goods come from, and there should be a reason for me to send trading convoys on long journeys to buy exotic stuff. In my game, when I grew bored, I started to create a bunch of cities to get to Turkey. And I got there and it was the same old boring trade goods. This is just boring and it kills any incentive to set up large trading routes. So at the very least, I think that products like pottery or wine, their price should depend on the region that they were produced. But the best and most intuitive solution would be that each region have some unique goods, and in faraway regions these goods would of course be rare, which would increase the price and make you have a reason to set up large trade routes, and etc., 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 etc. I think that was enough suggestions. I hope that I have not sounded too negative, because I certainly do not hate the game. However, I cannot imagine paying full price, considering how quickly I grow bored of it. So that was my thought on Grand Ages Medieval. If you have gotten this far, then thank you for watching, and bye bye bye.